Well, Corey, it wasn't 0-0. There was some scoring chances, but we didn't score. It was all Chelsea in that first half. How do you want to talk us through your feeling at least on how the game started, and we can go from there?
Yeah, I mean, it starts off very, very poor. I think it was all Chelsea. We just could not get a foothold at all, could we? Every time we tried to play the ball long, the two big centre backs doubling up on Beto. He actually won a couple of headers, but there's no one around him to win the second ball. So we were just wasting the ball away. And then we were trying to play the ball through the middle, go short. And every time we did that again, the Chelsea press would just win the ball. It's ultimately where they got the goal from as well. We just could not get control of the ball at all. I could be surprised if we had more than like 20%, 15% possession in that first 20 minutes. It was, as Abo says, honking. It was very, very poor at the start. Towards the end of the first half, started to get a bit more of a foothold or a bit more attacking impetus. And obviously the very last 15, 20 minutes, again, we looked better, but yeah, it was just very, very poor. It really did feel like a team that hasn't won once in 8 games, and that is safe anyway. So there's little to play for, if you know what I mean. But you'd still expect better.
Yeah, and what we had talked about before kickoff was a couple things. Moises Caicedo ended up taking that right back position, and we were wondering, will we test him? The answer is no. We didn't test him at all. And Ndiaye went central. Mikalenko was occupied entirely by Neto, and Caicedo got a free pass, meaning he could jump into the middle and completely dominate. They weren't poor, but we were completely out muscled. Romeo Lavia was excellent. Enzo was his annoying self, and then you have Caicedo in there as well, or Cucurella coming in there and just occupying Adressagana Gay and James Garner. They couldn't keep up. And they were also very effective at the second we get around the circle, the D, whatever you want to call it, in the middle there. They would close us down, win the ball back, and then we were just at 6s and 7s trying to recover. I think Patterson was very shaky for the first 5 to 10 minutes. Part of that was effective double teaming with Cucurella and Madueke, and eventually they figured that side out, but there was a lot of opportunities at the beginning. And I think credit where it's due, he did kind of calm down there. But yeah, the goal, let's go on to that, because there's a few different pieces of it. We can just say it was poor and better. You can say the defense was out of position. But I really think it starts on Mr. Pickford. We were getting shut down in the middle. But why do you hoof it to someone who's been occupied by 2 big centre halves? Is that really the right move? And no one was ready to lose the ball at that point.
Yeah, that literally, there was no one showing for the ball. The ball goes to Beto. No one's showing for it. He loses the ball. I mean, when that happens, then it should be, and it shows how poorly positioned everyone were to support Beto as well, is that as soon as Chalobah got that ball, it was a ball straight forward. I think it was to Neto, wasn't it? And then another ball vertically as well to Nicholas Jackson. If there was players who were going to be in a position to be able to support Beto anyway, they'd have actually been closer to the state of play to be able to defend it as well. So it was poor from Beto. We know that he loses the ball like that. So why are we playing the ball long to him when a team's already, and it's shown constantly throughout that first half, that we were just struggling. And I think James Graham there, the Corey is a waste of legs. I wouldn't be that harsh, but that was a big part of why we were struggling. I thought
he's got big legs. He doesn't use them. It is a waste of legs.
We said in the pre-match, didn't we, that we thought we'd hope he'd drop deep and support that midfield. But he just seemed to go missing at that point. He should always be close to Beto to be able to receive that ball. When Alcaraz and Beto played together earlier on, was it against Manchester United? Alcaraz was always close to him, and he was always there ready to receive the ball. Now, whether that means we win the second ball and we go forward, or we recycle possession, but we just don't get that with the Corey, and we can't play the Corey and Beto together. I think we've said this for a while. They're very, very similar in terms of neither of them are fantastic technically. They both will run the socks off. They're both quite awkward. They both want to go into the channels, so we can't play them both together. And like I said, he was nowhere to be seen for that goal, and for a lot of the time the ball kept going up into midfield. And that's where the game was lost. There was only one goal as well. They had about 3 or 4 decent chances. We had 2 or 3 decent chances. So it wasn't even as if there was a massive gulf between the teams, although we were piss poor and doing absolutely nothing in the game somewhat. And the defence didn't seem terribly phased as well. It wasn't like the defence were under constant scramble and pressure. Yeah, there was pressure, but we weren't panicking for lives, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I'll go back to the goal and I'll follow up here because Pickford at that moment, strategically, what we were doing a lot of the time, and Tarks has been doing this with Branthwaite for a while, they pull out wide and then the fullbacks occupy the width. Everyone else kind of tucks centrally. But for whatever reason, almost everyone other than Beto were on the touchline, it felt. And there was a gap in the middle. So long ball to Beto. And I think it was Trevor Chalobah, who was excellent for them. He intercepts and nicks it, and it goes straight to Enzo Fernandez. It's a one-touch through ball. And Jackson had a shot, well struck, very similar to Beto's strike just before he got subbed off. But it hit the bottom corner, and basically the 2 center halves that we have who go out wide, which allows typically one of our midfielders at times that's going to be Idrissa Gana-Gueye, or at times James Garner, whoever wants to occupy that spot, and the other goes high. So in that period, we just had no one in the middle for whatever reason. No central midfielder was ready, and we just went long. We had no rest defense because everyone was out of position, and it was a well struck goal, but it wasn't contested either.
No, it was an easy one, wasn't it? It was. I said as soon as the ball falls to Chalobah, he gets the ball, he plays it vertically to, I think it was Pedro Neto, who was very, very narrow, and then he plays a essentially vertical ball straight through to Nicholas Jackson. At that point, the 2 centre backs had having to back off, trying to shepherd him into position, but he was a lot more central than Beto's strike was, so it was a bit easy for him to find that corner. But yeah, you're right. It was a case of that goal, and very much a story of that first half was that there was no one in the centre midfield, and yet we were still going long into the centre.
Yeah, and I know we're getting some comments about Moyes out and things like that. I think more broadly, what we're saying, we should really ask the question on matches like this, I think we were tactically outdone comfortably in that first half. Yeah. And I'm not sure yet, was it David Moyes tactically making adjustments? Yes, there was a lot of subs, but I think it was also Chelsea resting some key players, and they seemed to take their foot off the pedal at periods in that second half. And the second Lavia went off somewhere in the 60th minute, 65th minute, all of a sudden Everton start taking over the match. So the midfield was a little bit different. Yes, Charlie Alcaraz was very significant, but to us impacting this game, no doubt. But Lavia coming out of the middle, I think, was a huge difference maker.
Yeah, because again, the fact that Caicedo was coming into that central midfield meant they had 3 there, and they were able to basically outnumber us in that midfield, especially with the energy that their 3 midfield players have. Once he comes out, Caicedo comes in, he goes on a good run because he shows that he is probably one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the league. But like you said there, once that happens and Reece James wants to play further out wide, Caicedo doesn't want to drop in. They've not got that 3 of Caicedo, Lavia and Enzo. We find a bit more of the ball, and you find that Alcaraz comes on, and he then, like you said, he gets the ball deeper, and we just needed someone to get that ball deeper, play a couple of 1-2s, and just kind of progress the ball field. If you do that, you create a bit of space out wide, which is what we were doing, and having a chance to get the ball in. But then by that point, Chelsea have all their men inside the box, and we can't, because we only have 2 men in the box at any time.
So I know we're bouncing around on the time timeline. But I want to respond to Goodison Blues point here comment, because there actually was a moment, and it's kind of contrary to what you were just saying, that we were playing narrow. Mykolenko, it seemed at the time, so this is near the end of the match. This is the Dwight McNeil chance. That it was basically hit to the touchline. It seemed like a poor pass, but we had Charlie Alcaraz get into it, first time cutback, and I guess a back post run from Dwight McNeil, opens up on his left foot, volleys it, slightly mishit, but still relatively well placed. A quality save actually from their keeper, but that could have on an underwhelming performance nicked a 1-1 against Chelsea away. And there's little moments like that. And I'm not saying we were good enough to deserve the point, but even on a relatively poor performance going forward, we had little moments like that.
Yeah, and that's it. It's we do have this in us that we can still get through teams, if you know what I mean. Just the chances that we do create are too few and far between, and it's people. We don't get enough people in the box is the main thing, because we can create these chances. If you look in the first half when Decore passed the ball to Mikalenko, we clipped it back in. Decore should have scored that. Decore, that ball comes in, he takes his eye off the ball, pulls out, and that goes wide. Patterson has a ball where the ball comes out to him, and Ndiaye does well because he comes centrally, played out to Patterson. He played a good ball in. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was better with Decore again, just unable to get the header onto the goal.
Yeah, okay. So there's a few things that are coming up in the chat too, but one I wanted to bring up that I think is very fitting to the frustrating element of watching Beto and Decore play. It was right around a little early in the second half. Charlie Alcaraz is, I think, like doing a couple passes with Idrissa Gana Gueye. He's breaking through the lines. He goes, I think he nicks it past Lavia, and he's just charging forward, and he's right in the middle. And then there's awkwardly Beto, I think it is, just says, "No, the ball's mine," and then just knocks it long or like gives it away again. I'm like, Charlie did all the hard work. Why are we doing this dumb shit? Just we had the chance and we're just blowing it. The wrong person got his foot in the way when we had all the opportunity right there. And Charlie is the player that does that for us. Get out of his way. Let Charlie run. Don't take over at this time, guys. And it was basically the Decore and Beto awkward element just stunting our scoring opportunities.
And they both want to do the same thing, and they both want to take up the same positions.
Yeah.
So
central channel.
Yeah, central, just running off the shoulder, dropping out a little bit wide. So when you've got them, they'll both run into the same position, or instead of one going, they just occupy the same space essentially and do the same job. So that doesn't work. And I mean, if Moyes is going to make a decision, he's going to choose to play Decore and not play Beto. But I do also think that Beto was probably the better striker of the three we've got available. Chimiti's a bit more of an unknown quantity. So if it was me, I've been saying it for a while, I'd just drop Decore. Hopefully against Ipswich and against Southampton, we would expect it to have more of the ball and aim to control the game a bit more. Then you'd hope that Decore maybe gets that rest. He'll play against Newcastle, and maybe Alcaraz gets them start and a chance to show what he can do in a central role as opposed to out wide. In Ndiaye, I would have liked them to intertwine, because if we're swapping Alcaraz for Ndiaye, we've got one of the two on. You've only got one attack and play. You've only got one flair player. You need more than that. You need players who are going to unlock, because what happens then is teams double up on that one player and you're stuck. So if you've got at least two players who can unlock a team, then I think we need to do. I just want to see Ndiaye and Alcaraz play together in the same team and actually try some. Just allow us to be able to actually attack and create multiple clear-cut chances and carve through teams.
Yeah. So I think Basil is here in the wings. We have, it's not Arnie Pie in the sky. We have Basil live from London.
Hello.
So you got to watch this firsthand. We were just talking about the frustration of watching the likes of Abdoulaye Decore and Beto get in the way of Charlie. And how did you feel that? What was it like at the stadium today?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely raised a good point about it. I mean, I personally thought Decore didn't touch the ball pretty much the whole game. I don't know how he escaped from being substituted as the three that got substituted. But
yeah, Ndiaye got subbed first.
There was a few players which I thought were pretty anomalous in that game. The crowd, the problem was, I mean, the crowd were up for it at the start of the game, but once the goal went in, you could sense the drop off in the energy of the crowd in the Everton camp, and it was almost like, well, are we going to be able to get a goal back here? The belief wasn't really there, because unfortunately, Beto's not really a target man. He doesn't hold the ball up, so he's getting anything that way. And then so we're trying to play out the back, but Chelsea are just like compressing the midfield so much. I was sat quite low down, so it's hard to see kind of a formation, but I could just tell every time the ball went around that middle part of the pitch, they just pressed on us, and they turn over the ball, and 2 passes in, and they'd be through, and that's how they got the goal, if I remember. So it was very difficult to play. We couldn't play long, we couldn't play short, so we didn't create much. We did make some chances second half. The crowd came back into it about 75 minutes after the subs. I thought that changed the game a little bit, but then it just petered out. They time wasted. The ref gave them free kicks for everything, little touches, and there was a lot of frustration. And then we could just see like Everton weren't getting the ball for like 2 to 3 minutes at a time, and then they give the ball away. So if you've got 10 minutes left, you get 3 chances. So it was really a struggle. It was just a test too far, I think, for us today. We would have benefited from getting like a fully fit McNeil. He looked lively, along with Alcaraz, along with Ndiaye. That would be interesting to see, and even Calvert-Lewin. I thought Chimity looked decent coming on. I thought it helped us. That sort of player.
Yeah, so I'll flip this back to both of you guys, and we'll get Basil's view first. What were your thoughts on Iliman and Ndiaye today? And did you think he was a strange scapegoat at halftime? We'll wait until until David Moyes has his presser to say there's an injury. For now, let's assume there wasn't an injury. Do you think he deserved to come off? Because Charlie made more of an impact than he did.
Go on,
He
Basil.
did, yeah. He did, yeah. I mean, I was sat, so he's on the other side of the pitch. I just didn't see him do very much on that other side of the pitch. I have to be honest. He got the ball one time, in our half, ran it into a player, tried to skill move him, and then 2 seconds later, Chelsea were in the box. I think that was the worry. Like, he just tries to overplay at the wrong moments, and that wasn't helping. That's all I saw from him first half. So I wasn't deeply surprised. It was a bit of an unusual one, but he didn't really get the ball, unfortunately. I think the people in the crowd were saying, "Oh, I would want to see him in the middle." That's where he played for Sheffield United. Get him in those pockets, like against a team like this. We really are crying out for just a couple of dynamic wingers in the transfer market.
This is a funny comment. He's suffering from overhype, and look, I think we're dying to see someone that has the flair and the ability to take on the opposition. I really enjoyed watching Pedro Neto today. Granted, he's against us, but he did excellent against Vitaly Mykolenko, actually, and it caused us a whole bunch of problems. I want to see players like that in our side. Charlie can do it, Iliman can do it, and that's about it, really. And it was hard maybe to watch it from unless you're seeing it on the TV, but he did go central trying to break through the midfield, but he got out muscled, and a few times he was fouled and no one got a yellow for it, and I think he kind of gave up doing it, and all of a sudden it kind of petered out before halftime.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was maybe why Moyes took him off. I don't think he was having a particularly bad game, at least not compared to anyone else in the team. He was probably putting as much effort or at least trying to do things himself as much as possible. A few times where he does that thing when he gets the ball, doesn't he? He tries to hold the defender off and look for a little space to pop through. A couple of times where he probably should have passed the ball at that point and we lost it. Maybe that's why Moyes got frustrated and took him off. But that's what we noticed is in that first half, there was so much space on that left-hand side. I don't know if it's tactical or not, just for Mykolenko to attack. But we were never able to get that ball in there because there was so much pressing going on. So has Ndiaye been told to come central, or has he just decided I'm getting nothing out here? I'm moving inwards, coming deep, getting the ball, and just trying to break through the lines, maybe set someone free. Again, that's where Patterson got his chance to cross the ball in, where Ndiaye had come central, got the ball, took a man on or two, and then played it out wide. Ball came in, nothing came of it. But that's what it seemed like he was focusing on, whether it was his own decision. And maybe that's why he's been taken off, because Moyes said, no, you're deviating from what the tactical plan was. Maybe go things a little bit different from there.
Yeah. So irrespective of our thoughts on Ndiaye, and maybe we'll hear from Moyes. Now, and Basil said in that first half what he could see, and he was low enough down to the ground, he could feel what it'd like to be James Garner just being boxed in, being pounced on, and a high intensity Chelsea. Then comes the second half. Chelsea seemed to have a foot off the pedal a little bit, and Everton revved up. It was not as bad as the first half, but we progressively built into that second half. And did you feel a difference in how we played in that second half, Basil?
We were definitely better when the substitutes came on. I think the first 30 minutes or 20 minutes, I think it was about 60 minutes, wasn't it, that we waited till the subs came on. I think that was pretty much a continuation of the first half, but Chelsea were definitely on the front foot at that point in the game, and they would put crosses across. And I think Moyes thought, right, we need to make changes now. Like, how many times have we waited to go 2-0 down before we put the substitutes on? So at least he put the subs on, and then I did feel like that helped. I mean, Harrison, unfortunately, would get the ball, it would flick away from him, or he'd get plattered, and then they'd give no free kick. So he was being ineffective, so he came off. Patterson, he was okay, so he came off. He wasn't doing anything much. So you could understand the changes. We were definitely better. But it was frustrating to watch that Chelsea just time wasted and found any tactic they could to slow the game down. They just tried to keep the ball, pass, wait, pass, wait for us to press up the pitch, make it really annoying. And that's just the game kind of just fizzled out that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm scrolling up on the chat here because there was some comment of saying, how are we going to progress without some of these players that we're screaming for new signings to basically say, hey, if someone is time wasting, we can't punish them for them being on the defense, because offense is the best defense a lot of the time, where they're pinning us back, and they didn't have to do that a lot of that second half, and we didn't punish them. We had some opportunities. We had that Dwight McNeil chance there, but did we really break open the game? No, we did a lot better, but we still weren't really out of like second or third gear in that second half, even when we were better, to me.
I think, but yeah, we didn't have our best game overall. I think we were okay. Beto had a good shot. McNeil, as you said, had a chance. There was a few with Alcaraz, made a few chances or got close to getting shots off. He couldn't get there. Mikolenko put a couple of balls in, but they just weren't quite good enough to outmuscle. The Chelsea team are super athletic, super quick, strong players. They tend to get first to everything. The main problem for me, it seemed, in that second half was midfield just seems to be so wide open, like a knife through butter. Just to pass straight through the middle. And at one point, I think it was the centre back, he ran the entire length of the pitch into the box from the Chelsea half. I couldn't believe it. I don't know whether it was
It's Caicedo. He took the ball really.
Caicedo,
yeah.
Yeah, so we had the two in midfield, didn't we? But maybe we needed three, or Decore wasn't tactically doing enough. Like, I mean, I would have taken him off, to be honest. I would have kept Beto on and Shamiti and had two up front, because we were losing a game, and then told McNeil and Alcaraz to play as like false tens on the inside. But that was just, yeah.
Yeah, like Decore was in that position that if the ball was progressed up the pitch and somehow we carried it through the middle and then got it to him, then great, he's in the right position. But you know what? If we're getting out-muscled, he needs to come back and help us win it and carry it, because he's a ball carrier. He might be very awkward at it, but he can win the ball back, nick it around the edge of our 18-yard box, a bit like Ndiaye can, and just and win and start the counter-attack off. And him being in that position basically just got us out-muscled a lot through the middle. Granted, that's where their strength is for Chelsea. Lavia is excellent, and Enzo is a workhorse too, but we let them have it.
Yeah, I'd say the word bypassed would be how I'd describe it. Just felt like the ball would just go over the top and he'd just get cut out all the time. Don't know if Corey wants to comment on any of that, but
I've got nothing else wrong, because it's pretty much just absolutely spot on. It was far too easy, isn't it? Just so many times we were bypassing us. The goal, like you said there, the Caicedo opportunity, the amount of times they were just cover. I mean, at one point, ball comes to Palmer, he had 3 or 4 men around him. He does the slightest little shimmy. I wouldn't have even flinched. Maybe that's because my reflexes are so slow. And he just had like acres of space just to run straight through. And the whole point for me is the positioning's been poor. The fact we've gone back and forth on the exact same thing we've kept going for in the first half. I just think it's a very poor game. Bypassed is probably the word of the day, because although they weren't great, we were even worse. And they just bypassed us for a 1-0 win and 3 points, as they bypassed our midfield all day.
Yeah. So on the pre-match, I talked with Corey about a few things that we were hoping to see today, especially with Tarkovsky out. It brought forth some interesting questions about the future and things we were looking at. So the first question that I have for you, Basil, are you what did you think of Jake O'Brien in centre half pairing with Tarkovsky? Did it feel like the future of Everton, or what?
It felt okay, actually. I was fairly comfortable. If I'd seen Michael Keane was playing, I would have panicked. Because I mean, when you reflect on it, last week you can't take anything away from the fact Michael Keane got subbed on. Everton concede 2 goals, Everton lose the game. So he can't really be put in again, could he, for the Chelsea game on that basis? So he has to test him, and he did test him. I think the worry was more Patterson didn't feel quite there. He felt, I mean, it's understandable he's not really played many games, but he was getting beaten by Noni Madueke a few times. So we were more worried about that, I think, in the fan base. But I think Jake O'Brien is a good player. There's some sort of drone flying above my head if you can hear a buzzing noise. But,
yeah, you're mentioning VAR and Everton, and all of a sudden the drone has found you.
Yeah, the drone is literally just gone to the floor then. No, I thought Jake O'Brien was solid, to be fair, in that. And he feels comfortable when he receives the ball. I feel like he's confident, but he does look like he wants to play long, and there wasn't many options, and sometimes it would just go forward a bit unnecessary. But I thought he was okay. How did he look on TV?
I think he was okay. Branthwaite, to me, looked the better of the two.
Yeah.
And handled the pace of Jackson, and it seemed like O'Brien did just enough, but he wasn't comfortable.
Yeah, I think
the only thing. Sorry, go on, Corey.
You go make one.
I was just going to say, the only thing is you do worry, like when Tarkovsky's there, he blocks everything pretty much. He's always in that right place to block the shot. And I don't feel like Jake O'Brien will necessarily do that, or Branthwaite. I don't feel like they'll read it. He kind of gets caught in his own body a little bit. That's the worry when they get shots around the edge of the box. And I don't know about the goal. You might know more than me. I just remember Beto losing out, and everyone called a foul, and then it wasn't a foul, and then they passed it forward. Yeah, and then I don't know what the centre backs. It was the centre backs versus Jackson, wasn't it? And I don't know how they handled that. I just saw him hit the shot, and it went in the corner.
Yeah, I don't really want to say it was their fault per se, but it's really common. They go wide, and then one of the central midfielders comes in and occupies sort of that third centre half spot, and allows for the width of the fullbacks to go forward. And Pickford did a really strange pass. Tommy on the chat wants us to talk about the Mykolenko penalty shout, and then we'll go back to my other questions for you. So this was a situation about 35 to 40 minutes into the first half, maybe. Mykolenko's running. I think he's with Moises Caicedo, and Sanchez is grabbing the ball, loses it, and is running at full speed. And there's a full on, like a head-to-head collision, basically, with Sanchez and Mykolenko.
Sanchez's body wearing his shoulders, ribs, right into the jaw of Mykolenko.
Because I thought they both had a head injury at the end of it, but the point here, other than that looked incredibly painful, straight away the referee gives Chris Kavanagh, I think it was, gives it straight away. Goalkeeper wins the free kick, which is, I looked at that and said, really? How's that a free kick to the keeper? And the question then becomes, if the keeper loses possession and just knocks someone out when they're not in possession, isn't that a foul to Everton? I heard that in the halftime analysis over Opta Sport, and I'd heard nothing on the commentary about it. They just talked about the head injury. So that's a question that I'll be curious to see what your guys' thoughts were, or if Moyes talks to it.
I don't think it was a penalty, to be honest. when I first seen it, and you see it at pace like fully, I thought, oh, he's clattered him there, but it's a footballing collision. He's not done anything. There was nothing reckless in terms of what Sanchez did. He went for the ball. He got the ball. He's got his eyes fully on the ball. He's not looking at Mykolenko. Mykolenko, his eyes are on the ball until he notices Sanchez and he tries to move to pull out to reduce, obviously, the impact. He gets taken out. If it's the other way around, your heart's in your mouth when it first happens, but I'd say if I was going to be disappointed if that went against us as well. You're just going for the ball. You want to win it. You're just going at pace. You're just concentrating purely on that ball. So I don't think it was a penalty. I think the one before that, which is getting more and more hazy in my mind the more I think about it.
I think it was Beto or Ndiaye got tripped up.
It was the push on Beto. That one got quickly waved away. I think it was Chalobah on Beto, and I thought that was more of a penalty than the one with Mykolenko. The Mykolenko one, in my mind, was just a coming together. It's just the pace and everything that happened was it just wanted football in it. Clattered and zapping, contact sport.
Yeah, I suppose it was on the opposite side of the pitch for you, Basil, and because it wasn't really talked about live, you may not have even seen it.
No, I saw him clatter the keeper, but as you say, it was so far away. I didn't know that he spilt the ball and then went through him. If he spills the ball, I kind of inclined to agree with you, but it depends if Mykolenko causes him to spill the ball, I suppose. If Mykolenko's momentum causes him to spill the ball, then that's what I would go against
he lost the ball before hitting Mykolenko, but I agree kind of with Corey that kind of calls. It's a physical game, and it's slightly different than when someone puts a foot in front of another person's leg in a tangle when they're sprinting in the box. This was more just an accidental physical collision rather than a trip attempt or something of that nature.
Right.
But what surprised me and what got my reaction when I watched it live was, wait a second, how's this a free? How does the keeper get a free kick out of this for knocking out the player without the ball? At minimum, at 50-50 and stop the play for a head injury. Don't give the person who did fouling a free kick.
Wasn't it a drop ball?
No. Free kick to Chelsea.
He gave a free kick
straight away to Chelsea, and then I was about to say, Ryan, what's your mate doing? Is he getting paid off?
The one thing that I found unusual in that situation, we didn't know there was a VAR check for that. We thought it was just, we were a bit like shouting for a penalty. Then it went quiet. They were treating the injuries, and then there's nothing on the screen said VAR check, which is unusual. If you said that there was one and there was about 3 minutes, they could have put that on the board. Yeah. They obviously didn't want to antagonize
There probably would have been a quick one where they've literally looked at it and gone, no, it's just a clash, simple as. Because a lot of times you do get that as well, because they'll check everything through VAR. So VAR would have checked through it. But they probably just gone, it doesn't need to go to a full review, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whereas if the other way around, it would have been a full VAR check, let's be honest about it.
Yeah. Okay. So I covered the penalty. We'll go back to some peppering Basil with some questions from our pre-match. So we talked about the centre half and the future there. Generally speaking, I think it was okay. Maybe it's another match or two to watch their pairing develop, and that's going to happen over time. But O'Brien has absolutely deserved to be in our future. Now, what do you think about Nathan Patterson today? Is he a right back option for the future?
I think he's. Do you want to go first, Basil, mate?
No, go on. You were about to say something.
I don't know if he's the future, but certainly for the next game. Like you said, it's the first action where Madueke done him. He struggled there early on. He got to grips with it. I think throughout the first half, I thought he actually played fairly well. He's one of the better players in my mind in that first half. He won a lot of his one-on-ones, his duels. The one where, Madueke got the header and he clashed with Patterson. O'Brien was beating on that ball. Patterson was the one behind him and putting him under that pressure. So I thought his positional sense was okay after the first 10 minutes. Most of the first half, he was fine. I did kind of jinx. Obviously, me and you were talking, messaging with me throughout the game. And about 2 minutes earlier, I'd said that I think Patterson's actually having a decent game. He's doing well. And then he gives that ball away, and Pickford has to get him out the.
It was like a back pass, wasn't it?
Out the proverbial brown. And then he give the ball away a couple of seconds later as well. That can be his head's just gone after that. So maybe it was the right decision to take him out at that time, just in case he comes out the game and his mindset goes. But I'd probably still start him again because he's still good going forward. He does want to get forward. He does want to try. He's got some physicality about him. And like I said, there was one of our best chances early on in that first half was when he'd done that overlapping run, and it's natural to him because he's an overlapping attacking fullback. He clipped the ball in. It was a very, very good ball in, by the way. It was weighted perfectly. And it was better or the core. They just could not get their head towards the goal. So, Wayne Spoozers, he's disagreeing with me. But I actually thought he defended really well. There was a couple of times where he won his one-on-ones and he got into the right position. I just think, just give him these 3 games. Like I said, it's time to experiment. If he grows into it, fantastic. If come these next 3 games we've got coming up, we bin him off, sound, but I'd say it's worth giving him the chance because he does show promise. His head just goes.
Yeah, his head goes. You're right, but that's the worry. He has good moments, but then there's always a couple of lapses in concentration. And when I look at like Ashley Young or even Coleman, when I've not for a while, but when we've seen him play maybe last season, they don't tend to have big mistakes in them. They can be poor in a game, but they always seem a little bit more in control of situations. Ashley Young, it was on the other side of the pitch again for me today, but he just seemed a bit more natural in control of that game, and that's worrying when he's 40 and Patterson's can't like get in the team and stay in the team because he's obviously not proving in training that he's better than the other players.
Does that not come with match experience though? And hope maybe this kind of match experience that, like I said, with 3 games which there's barely anything riding on, especially 2 against teams which we should be the better side. I'd say that's probably the best chance to give him a go because what we're going to see from playing Young over the next couple of games, if we know what he's going to get if he signs on again, most likely he's just going to leave the club.
Yeah. So I'll put it this.
It'd be good to see him play against teams that will give him a chance to attack them.
So I'll redirect this question to Ryan with a comment first. That in my thought today, if Patterson could hold his own against Madueke, we could consider him a starting player. If he can't make an impact against Ipswich, he shouldn't be at Everton, and that's the next week consideration. I think Ryan's already settled on it, but how did you think Patterson did today, Ryan? And we will come back to Ryan. I thought he may be on, but we'll let him sit for a bit, and if he jumps on or comments, cool. So the Patterson conversation, we've said we'll see next week, but I haven't been sold on it. The next question, we have someone that we have on loan with a potential obligation to buy if we do so activate the clause for Charlie Alcaraz. Oh, hello, Ryan.
It's alive.
Yeah, Patterson was steady, but then he nearly gave a clear goal to Chelsea with an underhit back pass in his own box. I mean, the guy's got a fish for a brain, and it's probably not an Atlantic salmon with the ability to swim upstream. He's the little goldfish that is in the pet shop with no brain. It was so basic, and then he got hooked for Ashley Young. We've got 3 right backs, and not one of them should be a part of Everton next season. And 4 strikers, and not one of them should be a part of Everton next season. You could shred that team to bits. But just on Patterson, he was steady without being spectacular.
Yeah, so that we're basically, I think we're on a similar page that he wasn't terrible, but when you talk for the future, I see Roman Dixon or someone external being brought in. Charlie Alcaraz, though.
It's got to the point where, I just got to say, it's got to the point with Patterson where if I can get some money for him, unfortunately, I'd probably cash in.
5 mil and move on.
Maybe a bit more, but
you're not getting that though, are you?
7 mil.
But then the issue there is you're
not getting that. You're not going to get anywhere near that. He's only got a year left on his contract.
More than 5, Ryan. I thought 5 was reasonable.
You get 1 or 2 million quid for him. You know, he's nearly out of contract, and he's got nothing.
Well, there's inflated prices in the world, Ryan. I was rounding up to 5. Anyway,
He's like 21 now, isn't he? He's like
22 now, I
probably
think.
like 22 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been at the club for 4 years. He's getting old.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
He's still relatively young for a fullback. But this is why I think, like I said, these next 3 games are the perfect opportunity for us to take a look over him and say, is there something competitive in the Premier League to work with? And if not, we've put him in the shop window, maybe get a bit more money for him. But that is,
I think we sell him and bring in a top first choice starting right back, or he's the backup right back for next season. But he's proven he can't cover when he does come in. Your other alternative is you give him another year and loan him out just to protect him and try and work out some sort of contract with him. But it's a difficult one to know what to do with him.
You've got to be realistic, and you can't ask for a starting right back and a starting winger and a starting fullback and lose about 4 or 5 players who are inevitably going to walk out at the end of the season. We've got to be realistic here, but I would look at the 3 relegation teams. Have any of them got a better right back in their team now than Patterson? That would be my question, and see if one of them...
Why are you still in the mentality that we're going to have another year of the same dross? We're moving stadium. We've got huge investment coming in. We're going to go and sign a load of players. There's a reason why we haven't offered deals to half of these players and that most of them are leaving at the end of the year. There's reasons. We're going to have about 13 players leaving. I also wouldn't be surprised if Beto's sold, McNeil has sold. I wouldn't be surprised if those players go.
That's a lot of... I mean, I agree with you that I wouldn't be surprised, but it's a lot of work in the summer, isn't it? Because we're going to need... Count off the top of my head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, probably 10, 12, 13 players at least to come in. Obviously, we're losing. There's 12 leaving the club anyway. So that means, ideally, we've got a small squad. We're going to need at least 12 to match it. A young player comes through, maybe. So are we going to be able to really get 12, 13 high-quality players in the summer?
I don't understand this. I don't think we're miles away. I think we're mid-table worthy, and I think you should add to what you've got with quality players and not rip everybody out,
we're not
rip
mid-table.
Everyone out of the team and get rid of them.
We're not mid-table. We've won 1 game in 8. We can't score any goals. We've just lost 3 out of 4 without scoring.
Liverpool. What do you expect? Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal. Did you expect to win? You're
thinking about Chelsea from 2010, Man City from 2018, Arsenal from last year, and Liverpool from 2018-19. They're all shit. Chelsea barely created a bean today. Arsenal didn't create anything at Goodison. There were 2 mistakes. The mistake against Chelsea today was Pickford playing a stupid pass into Beto as back to goal. The Arsenal one was another one where he's just broken down in midfield and ran up and scored. Man City they were all mistakes. They didn't outclass us. We've played the name, not the opposition, in all these games, and we're not mid-table.
You just said it yourself.
We'll finish 17th this season, I think.
We weren't that bad.
Oh, Ryan. West Ham have to start scoring. Now, what I was going to do here, because I did a contract review a little while ago, I'm going to add that to the chat if people haven't seen it. It goes over the approximate wages and who's out of contract at the end of the season, where I broke down goalkeepers, defense, midfield, and strikers, because there are a lot of players in there, and I think that's something that's useful for reference. And beyond that, we know we have a whole lot of work to do. What I did want to bring up was the Charlie Alcaraz piece of this, because he is a difference maker, and I think he made that impact today. Ryan, are you happy with how he's been playing at Everton to the point that you would like to have him as part of the future, or do you think he doesn't make the cut as well?
For a cheap fee, I would bring him in because he can carry the ball and he wants to make things happen. But again, David Moyes is sticking him on the left wing for some ridiculous reason, and then you're nullifying what you want him to do, which is to be involved in the game, to be effective in transition and to be creative. He is one that I would have out of them, yeah.
Yeah. I've been generally
wouldn't have-
impressed with him. He makes a difference compared to half the team.
I wouldn't have Jack Harrison, Decore, Chimiti, Beto, Irabunum, Coleman,
Jesper.
Young, Patterson, Lindstrom. There's more that I wouldn't have than I would next year.
And to be fair, I agree with you on most of them, and most of them are leaving us anyway. But this is why I think things like trying to get in a new, I mean, we do need a new right back, but I think the most important thing is, like we said, we are quite solid, and the games that we've lost, the 4 games that we've lost, 3 games that we've lost, Liverpool, Manchester City, and Chelsea, all 4 teams are now currently in the top 4 of the league. So they're the teams we're losing to. They're not been particularly massive differences in terms of the scoreline. We've been in the game. The 2-0 against City, the biggest one, and that was one late goal late on as well. So I think we're not there. We are still a poor team. We are mid-table, on the lower end of the mid-table. But what is missing from this team really is its goals and its chances. So I think the focus should really be on, the main one for me is a right winger. We need someone who's pacey, who can score goals, someone who plays out right and will cut in on the left foot, but they've still got the pace to do so, not a slow crab like McNeil or Harrison. And that's despite the positives that I do believe McNeil brings. And we need a striker. We need someone who is big, who is physical. They still need to have some pace, but they need to be able to they need to be a proven goal scorer as well. Whether it's at the Premier League level or someone that we can bring in outside who we get for the cheap fee, I'm not too sure, but that's where the recruitment team really needs to find their money in. And that's where I'm most worried, because if there's one thing we know historically about David Moyes, he's brought in brilliant players, developed players brilliantly in all positions. Striker, and this includes his time at West Ham, has been his biggest
Terrible.
Except
We need
for
a
Cahill.
striker at West Ham.
We need 6 or 7 first-team players who are going to start next year. 6 or 7 to start, and maybe 3 or 4 bench options that offer more than what they've got. They need to work out who's staying and who's not. Obviously, it looks like no one's staying, but I think the priority has got to be, sell Beto back to Italy, get 10 million quid for him. Calvert-Lewin, just release him if he's not staying. What is this point? Chimiti, give him a loan. Brozier, we're not going to sign him because the fee was 30 million. So I want the big investment to be centre forward with the proven track record of scoring goals, to show ambition. That's where the money's going, and then let's build a team to get the best out of that striker. So throw everything into the centre forward position. But I wouldn't be surprised if the whole window gets thrown off its head by someone like Jared Branthwaite leaving. And that could really just like add even more complexity that we don't need.
It's hard work, isn't it? It's hard work to get a striker. As you said, he's got a terrible record of getting strikers. He wasted about 40 or 50 million on one at West Ham. I mean,
he went to Dortmund and has been brilliant, though.
Yeah, what you described, Corey, was a big, strong striker with a proven track record. I mean, how many times have we looked for that? I mean, when we signed Beto, he was a proven goal scorer in Italy with a strong presence, and it's exactly that description. But it just don't.
He scored 22.
I mean,
he
I think you're
22
exaggerating the extent of it.
He was working in KFC.
The season before we got him, he was up high in the goal scoring charts there. He was just coming into it, and obviously he's flattered a little bit. But
he scored 10 goals.
I'd concentrate out wide. That's my personal opinion. I'd make sure you buy blistering fast wingers who can beat people and get good quality balls in, and then get McNeil and your Alcarazes more central where they can get their shots in. They're more effective, and Ndiaye is better in the middle. They're all better in the middle.
I do believe as well that I think, although Beto's not the man to be our striker for the future for Everton number 9, I do think sorting out wingers and number 10s who can get the ball to him would actually be sufficient enough to get us even more goals. He's shown he's got a purple patch.
A well-weighted pass when he's running. He's quick on the draw. He had one good strike today. But that was a good strike.
His only opportunity now, what you don't want is for him to be doing all the work. He can do the physical work, but if you have someone close to him like Alcaraz, which the Corey does not do, that then pushes us up the pitch a bit further. If you've got wingers who are going to tuck in and support him, or have got pace that supports him. If more people get into the box and it's not Beto being marked by 2 men, he's got a chance. He might miss 2 or 3 chances, but do you know who else misses 2 or 3 chances? But he, as long as it's fed to him, he will eventually score them, and he ended up being the top goal scorer in the Premier League. Erling Haaland. I'm not comparing them in terms of ability, but if you look at the way they play, they're big. They don't do much in terms of the build-up of the play. They're both fairly awkward. They rely a lot on their physicality. But if you give them enough chances, and they will bully their way into them chances, they do well. Roy Nixon's got a good one there. Mika Berith at Monaco. Very, very, very good striker as well. Having a brilliant season at Monaco. I think there's plenty of players out there. We know about Leon Delap. Big, massive 6'7" striker for Strasbourg is having a fantastic season. He's physical. He's got decent pace for his size. He's really good on the ball, especially for a fella that's 6'7". He'll be a cheaper option. Berghardt at Mainz in Germany. Again, more willing to come deep, but although he's not as tall, he's physical. He's got pace. He wants to battle. They're players who they're not going to be massive break-the-bank players, but they can score. Similar to Beto, I think the important thing is build a team to create the chance, because we don't even create the chances. And when we do, there's 2 men in the box, and they're both occupying the same space in Decore and Beto.
Yeah, but we did have 2 big chances today. McNeil.
Yep.
You know,
Can't hear Ryan.
I'm being hypercritical
Ryan,
here, but it was.
You dip in and out there,
it
mate.
It wasn't the most convicted. It wasn't convincing. He could have.
I know what he's trying to say, that it wasn't a striker's shot with conviction from Dwight McNeil, is what I'm inferring from Ryan there. But if he cuts back in, we'll add to it. But Basil, the other thing that I think this is all also coming down to is we're talking about future players, and we say if we're not satisfied with how Patterson's doing, and we have someone else that we're actually quite excited to see more of, and if there's any opposition to test that out on, it would be Ipswich. They have a lot of players out right now. Roman Dixon is in the wings. Shall we give him a run out on a match like Ipswich? Is Corey saying protect the lad for another season?
He's not ready.
No,
Not ready?
Yeah, I think, as we've said before, Patterson probably deserves his chance. Give him the last couple of games to prove that he should be Everton player, prove that he's not going to win a contract off the back of 2 games, but he might put himself into the frame for next season rather than the shop window.
Well, it'll raise his value at absolute minimum.
I think in terms of right back, like I said, Roman Dixon next. If anyone watches the under 21s, especially watching them last night, he looks physically. He's rapid. He's rapid compared to men's league, and his pace is brilliant. He does look like he's one of the better players in the under 21s team. He does look like he's at that level above the under 21s now, but he doesn't make the right decisions in games. He's rapid. He can take players on. He will drop forward. He will go wide, but he's not ready. He will probably benefit from going to a lower place championship club next season. It's going to fight for survival. Maybe one that plays 5 at the back so he can play the wing back role. He will be forced, like Harrison Armstrong is at the moment. Yeah, and I'm not saying that because I've got Derby on the background. But if they play with wing backs, and they play very, very wide, it suits him because he'll have a chance to go forward, get on the ball, do his thing, but also he'll be required to defend, and he'll be required to grow up and mature a lot more, which I think is what that'll be Roman Dixon next year. He won't be playing for. Won't and shouldn't be playing for us unless he comes up leaps and bounds over the summer. But a good low place fighting championship loan forward would do the world of good, and then he could come back as a second choice right back.
Second choice striker. Sorry,
give him a go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I see that being useful. Give him a half a season, or be able to recall him if he's doing well and we're short on people, and he's then had the championship competitiveness in a squad that needs an attacking wide player, either right wing back, right fullback, and give that a shot, so he can have more of those game time decisions, as you say, in the championship, in the men's league, and then if you need to bring him back over. But I also know that Moyes seems to be able to develop fullbacks. So if you can keep him here and have him part of the first team to develop him here at Everton, that's also important to think about.
Yeah,
Hello?
Hello, Ryan. He's
Hello.
alive.
Why was Jordan Pickford captain today? I mean, how can you influence the game from? Just thinking. I've not heard anything he said. Why is he
We were
captain?
talking about it before, Matt. We wanted to just go on a gay, honestly, Ryan, but it didn't happen.
Do you not think that's so stupid? And then he's arguing with Garner after that first goal because the whole setup from the goal. Jordan Pickford sets up the set pieces. That's one of his responsibilities for the goal kicks. So he tells them what to do. So that goal's on him. I've just been daydreaming in the car then thinking, because you got me thinking, I'd only have Pickford, Branthwaite and O'Brien out of all of them next year if it came down to it. Really, the crunch. And Garner if he wants to stay. Garner Gay.
It's not FIFA manager mode, bro.
I know. I'm just thinking, please don't torture me. It's been 4 years of that rubbish.
Ryan wants to be on The Apprentice where he can fire the entire Everton starting 11.
Are you not just bored of watching these players? Sorry,
of
Ndiaye
course.
I'd keep Ndiaye, but...
Yeah. Are we bored? Yes. Do
Just-
we want...
please don't make me
rebuild?
watch Decore
Yes.
anymore.
We're talking
I
about the
can't watch
rebuild.
Decore. Chris, can you find out? Can you get a touch map? Or find out how many touches Decore had today? Because it felt like he did touch the ball once.
0.
In 90
0.
minutes.
Yeah, I will talk to you. I'm bringing it up now. I will talk about Abdoulaye Decore's key stats and talk through them. So minutes played, 90. XG, 0.23. That's an exact... He had a strike in the first half near the end, right in stoppage time. Accurate passes. He had 23 passes, 18 to his fellow Blues and 5 that were off target. He had one cross attempt, unsuccessful, 1 unsuccessful long ball, 1 shot off target, 2 unsuccessful dribble attempts. He won 4 of his 10 ground duels. He lost all 3 of his aerial duels. He lost possession 10 times, was offside once, had 1 clearance. He dribbled past 3 people and had 4 tackles over 90 minutes. Clearly not good
So
enough.
what's that? 18 passes completed in 90 minutes. What's that?
Yep.
One every
So he touched
5
the ball
minutes.
technically 18 times.
Poor.
What's that? If he touched it once every 5 minutes, that would equal 60 minutes. So yeah. So it's like not even like one. Yeah, it's just terrible. It was between 1 of every 5 to 1 of every 10 minutes he touched the ball, according to that.
Yeah, that's not involved at all. And when that's a central midfielder, by the way, your central midfielder should have more touches.
He's a creative outlet.
Yeah,
More.
And that's where the issue, like we said, the issue is he was nowhere near the game. He was never affecting anything offensively and defensively. And then when we were on the attack, he was just running up. He doesn't give that support to Beto. He hasn't helped, because we were talking in the pre-match, weren't we, about how Beto hopefully will play more of a deeper role and drop deep and support the midfield to allow us to compete in the middle of the pitch. And he didn't. He disappeared, and then we completely lost it there.
Yep. So while we're at this analysis, let's say we have Charlie Alcaraz, who was on the pitch for half the time. He had 14 passes rather than 18. He had a key pass. He had 1 cross. It was successful. He tripled the amount of long balls and was actually on target with them. He created a big chance, and he had more dribble attempts in that one half, and 2 of them were successful. He won a similar ratio of ground duels, but he only did it over 1 half, so it was a similar amount over the 90. And he wasn't involved on aerial duels. He lost the possession. He lost possession about as much as Decore did, 6 in 1 half and 10 on the other, and had the 1 clearance. And tackle wise and dribbles past, he didn't get any stats there. So generally speaking, he was more involved in his 45 than Decore was in his 90.
Yeah, you'd probably think that if there wasn't the obligation clause in the loan agreement, that he'd be starting more and more games. But we've seen it from Moyes, we've seen it from Dyche. Your more pragmatic managers. It's probably why Lampard didn't like him. Really, really value what he does in the team. But we said this when Alcaraz first come in, and we wanted to see him play more and more, especially after his first few cameos, is that he offers so much more in possession and creatively than Decore does. The argument is that what Decore offers defensively in terms of across the pitch, but from the stats there, and it's what you see from the eye test as well, when we've watched him play, is that he might not have the strength of Decore, but he puts that defensive effort in. That Decore does. He's there, he's trying. He might not win as many balls because he's not as big, he's not as strong. But he puts the effort in, and we've seen there, he's winning ground duels. He might not be winning the aerial duels, but he's still in that position. He's probably dropping deeper than Decore was, to be fair, today, to win the ball, and he was starting attacks from that position, and his range of passing. Decore, you see him, he does a 3-point turn, whereas Alcaraz can turn on the spot kind of thing. There's a massive, and things like that are massive, because when it comes to the transition, or you're changing play from side to side, it's the speed at which you do that gives you the marginal gain that gets that breakthrough, because Decore has to turn like an Eddie Stobart suck, or he literally has to dance around the ball just to face the goal. By that point,
does it beef when he reverses?
Oh, I reckon so. Like I think green. And it is literally a case of that when we do that, and he takes that extra couple of seconds to turn it out, or split seconds out, that through ball that you've got, the player's now offside, or you've now got a defender just in position to get that ball. We've seen the McNeil pass against Forest, how small with the camera, how small the difference is, like the margins are for things to be successful or not. And that split second where that defender gets into that split position is when they're able to get in toe on the ball and deflect it away or get into position. And that's the kind of thing that, I can see. I just don't know why it's not reciprocated from the backroom staff.
Yeah, what are the fundamentals needed? I realize we could talk about this for another hour. We're not going to actually get a resolution. We've got more matches to watch. We've got 6 months. I don't even know how many months until the next season starts. But there's going to be a lot of these conversations. I wanted to end it on saying, I hope I never see those yellow pants and socks combinations ever again. That was a disgusting look.
or just a guy again in what looked like his yellow trackies.
Oh yeah, yeah, banana pants. Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
So before we go, then let's not do a full 11 rating. Should we just go for who our man of the match was?
Have you got one?
Jared Branthwaite gets a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd say 7.5. Alcaraz as well, when he come on, he was
he was good too.
I think he was very, very good. So he'd push him close. But for me, Jared Branthwaite, he dominated that defence today, and he was the only one who really closed Nicholas Jackson down before he scored.
Yeah, Jackson's hand was on his shirt half the match.
Yeah,
he kept his.
Yeah, he was pulling him. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I can't argue with you there. Yeah, Branthwaite was good. But...
Sound man of the match, Jared Branthwaite. I'll send him a bottle of prosecco from the Asda.
Yeah, Basil, do you want to ask the kids at the park what they think about the man of the match?
Can you hear them?
Yeah, we can.
Just playing football or something.
Don't photograph them without consent, no. Basil. That's not cool.
Well, the public space.
All right. Yeah,
he's putting the ball. He's not putting the ball in the net any better than Beto there. But I'm not sure.
Yeah,
we'll be
Branthwaite showed his class. Maybe you can go scout a striker in London for us, Basil, and then
that wasn't a bad effort.
All right. Well, I'm excited to watch some football on my new TV. I think we've talked about as much Everton as I can be bothered on an uneventful 1-0 match.
On a nice day.
We have Ipswich coming up next week, so we'll probably do this all again.
Yeah.
Until next time.
If you want a match to watch, Chris, 35 minutes in, Hull versus Derby. Harrison Armstrong playing central midfield. Derby, I think they've lost once in like 10 games. So
I think I need to get a different streaming app for that one. I only get Premier League content at the moment.
Yeah, no worries.
On Optus Sport, yeah. Otherwise, I have to pay double.
Well,
let me know how it goes, Corey. You can give me a breakdown.
I'll keep you updated. Looks like someone scored in London, Basil.
Pardon?
Looks like someone scored in London, Basil.
It's nice and it's nice and bright and sunny, and gonna go for a walk towards
Ipswich are down to
centre now.
10 men, which is tragic. Great for my FPL though. All right, I think I'm going to call it here, guys. Up the Toffees. Until next
Okay,
time.
guys. See
Have
you
a nice
later.
day.